The council chamber fell silent the moment the doors exploded inward. Empress Vithira of the Corvine dynasty had ruled for 3 centuries. She had crushed rebellions across 14 star systems. She had negotiated treaties with species that could disintegrate matter with a thought. She had never known fear, until now. The human stood in the smoke-filled doorway, bleeding from a dozen wounds that should have killed him twice over. His armor hung in shredded pieces. One arm dangled uselessly at his side, but his eyes burned with something the Empress had never seen in any sentient being across the galaxy. Pure, unfiltered defiance. "You took my crew," the human said. His voice was quiet, too quiet. "You took my ship, you took everything." The royal guards moved instantly, 12 of the Empire's finest warriors, each capable of tearing through steel with their bare claws, each trained since birth to protect the throne. They formed a living wall between the Empress and the intruder. The human named Carter didn't slow down. He moved like gravity had forgotten him. The first guard swung a plasma blade that could cut through starship hulls. Carter caught the weapon with his ruined arm, bones snapping audibly, and drove his other fist through the guard's reinforced chest plate. The guard dropped. 2 more rushed him from opposite sides. Carter grabbed one by the throat and used him as a club to beat the other into the marble floor. The crack echoed through the chamber like thunder. Vithira's hand moved to the emergency beacon at her throne. Her fingers trembled. That had never happened before. In 300 years of ruling the most powerful empire in the sector, her hands had never shaken. "Your Majesty," her chief advisor whispered, backing toward the side exit. "We should stay," she commanded. Her voice didn't waver. Even if her hands did, she was still Empress. Carter threw another guard through a support pillar. The ancient stone crumbled. Alarms began shrieking throughout the palace. More guards would come. Hundreds of them. Thousands if needed. But Vithira watched this human tear through her best warriors like they were paper, and she understood something that chilled her to her core. It wouldn't matter. The humans had been dismissed as weak. Their home world was small. Their technology inferior. Their bodies fragile compared to the great warrior races of the galaxy. The Corvine had captured their scout ship almost as an afterthought, another primitive species to be cataloged and forgotten. They had made a mistake. Carter reached the throne platform. Only 3 guards remained standing between him and the Empress. They held their ground because they were loyal, because they were brave, because they didn't know any better. "Last chance," Carter said to Vithira. His breathing was ragged. Blood dripped from his torn uniform onto the pristine white floor. "Where is my crew?" The Empress met his eyes, and for the first time in 3 centuries of absolute power, Empress Vithira of the Corvine dynasty felt something she had only read about in ancient texts. Terror. The 3 remaining guards attacked as one. Carter caught the first by the wrist, twisted, and heard the joints separate. He used the guard's own momentum to hurl him into the second. They went down in a tangle of limbs and armor. The third got smart and went for distance, raising a plasma rifle. Carter moved faster. He crossed the 10 feet between them before the guard could fire. His good hand clamped around the barrel and crushed it. The weapon sparked and died. Carter headbutted the guard so hard the alien's helmet cracked straight down the middle. Then there was nothing between him and the Empress. Vithira stood. She had ruled too long to die sitting down. Her hand found the ceremonial blade at her hip, a weapon that had ended the lives of 7 challengers to her throne. The blade hummed to life, energy crackling along its edge. "You think you can storm my palace alone?" she asked. Her voice was steady now. Fear or not, she was still Empress. "You think one human can stand against an empire?" "No," Carter said. He took a step forward. Blood squelched in his boot. "But I'm not here to fight an empire. I'm here for my people. And I'll burn this whole palace down to get them." The doors behind him burst open. 50 more guards poured into the chamber, weapons raised. They formed a semicircle, trapping Carter against the throne platform. The Empress allowed herself a thin smile. "You're brave." "Foolish, but brave. Your crew is already dead, human. They died screaming in our research laboratories. You've achieved nothing but your own execution." Something changed in Carter's expression. The defiance hardened into something colder, something surgical. "You're lying," he said quietly. I assure you, you're lying because you're stalling, because reinforcements are coming, because you're afraid. Carter's eyes never left hers, but mostly because if they were dead, you'd have less reason to keep me alive for questioning. You still don't understand what humans are. That's why you took them. That's why you're lying now. Vathira's smile faltered. Carter turned to face the 50 guards. His ruined arm hung limp. His good hand was empty. By any rational calculation, he was already dead. He smiled. I need you all to understand something, Carter said to the guards. I didn't come here to survive. I came here to send a message, and that message is this. You don't take humans. He pulled something from his belt. A small device, no bigger than his palm. The guards tensed. That's a standard emergency beacon, the Empress said. She'd seen thousands like it, calling for help that will never arrive. Your ship is destroyed. Your fleet is light years away. You have nothing. You're half right, Carter said. He pressed the button. I'm not calling for help. The device didn't transmit. It detonated. The explosion was small, controlled, perfectly shaped. It blew straight down through the throne platform, through the floor, through the substructure of the palace itself. The chamber shook. Cracks spiderwebbed across the walls, and from the hole in the floor something rose. A platform, emergency lit, battered but functional, and on it stood 7 figures in torn human uniforms, armed with weapons they'd clearly taken from their captors. Carter's crew? Lieutenant Brooks was first off the platform, a captured plasma rifle in her hands. Took you long enough, Captain. Got held up, Carter said. He didn't take his eyes off the guards. Status? 3 injured. All mobile. Found the armory on sublevel 9. Helped ourselves. Brooks grinned. It wasn't a nice grin. Also found the self-destruct system for this wing of the palace. Give us 2 minutes and this whole section drops? The Empress took a step back. You're bluffing. You can't possibly. Sublevel 9, Section 7, Maintenance Tunnel Beta, said another crew member, a young man named Felix. He held up a datapad. Your security is good against external threats. Not so good against people already inside. We've been loose for 6 hours. You just didn't know it because your guards kept disappearing. That's when the Empress noticed. The alarm that had been shrieking had gone quiet. The reinforcements that should have arrived hadn't come. The palace felt too silent, too empty. How many? She whispered. 43 guards, Brooks said. Give or take, lost count after 30. Carter took a step toward the Empress. The 50 guards raised their weapons, but they hesitated. They'd just watched one human tear through their best. Now there were 8 humans, armed and clearly very angry. I'm going to give you one chance, Carter said, because unlike you, we don't kill prisoners. Stand down, order your empire to leave human space alone. Forever? Or, Vathira demanded. Carter gestured to his crew. Felix tapped the datapad. Somewhere deep in the palace, something began to hum. The floor vibrated. Or we show the galaxy what happens when you back humans into a corner, Carter said. Your choice. Empress. The guards looked at their Empress. The Empress looked at the humans, and she made her choice. The Empress lowered her blade. The guards didn't move. 50 weapons still pointed at 8 humans who looked like they'd been through a war and come out meaner for it. Lower your weapons, Vathira commanded. Your Majesty, one guard captain started. Now. The weapons lowered. Slowly, reluctantly. But they lowered. Carter didn't relax. Neither did his crew. Brooks kept her rifle trained on the nearest cluster of guards. Felix's finger hovered over the datapad. Smart choice, Carter said. Now here's what happens next. You're going to give us a ship, fueled, armed, with full navigational access out of your territory. Impossible, the Empress said. Even if I wanted to, my council would never. The palace shuddered. Not from the charges below, from something outside. A guard burst through the side entrance, forgetting all protocol. Your Majesty! The orbital defense grid. It's gone dark! Vathira's face went from pale to ashen. What? All 17 platforms. Simultaneous system failures. They're dead in space. Brooks laughed. It was a sharp, barking sound. Did you really think the captain came alone? We're humans. We plan. We adapt. We cheat when we have to. Carter pulled a comm unit from his belt. Sierra team, report. A voice crackled through, a woman's voice, calm and professional. Captain Carter, this is Commander Hayes aboard the Valiant. Orbital platforms neutralized. We have firing solutions on the palace and all military installations within the capital city. Say the word, and we turn this place into a crater. The blood drained from every guard's face. The Empress stared at Carter. You said your ship was destroyed. I said you destroyed a ship, Carter corrected. The scout vessel Horizon. 12 crew. 4 survived capture, including me. The other 8 died fighting. His voice hardened. But the Horizon wasn't alone. Standard human protocol. Scouts never travel without a shadow. The Valiant's been in your system for 3 days. You just couldn't see her. Stealth technology, Vithira breathed. But our sensors are designed to find big, loud, proud warships like everything else in the galaxy builds? Brooks cut in. Humans build quiet. We learned that the hard way back on Earth. When you're not the strongest, you get creative. Another explosion rocked the palace. This one came from outside. Through the massive windows, they could see fire blooming in the city below. Felix checked his datapad. That wasn't us. The panicked guards spoke again. Military Barracks 7 through 12 report simultaneous attacks. Armories breached. Weapon systems sabotaged. They're saying... He paused, looking terrified to continue. Saying what? The Empress demanded. They're saying it's impossible. The attackers are everywhere at once, moving through systems we didn't know we had. It's like they've been studying us for months. We have, Carter said simply. Did you think we just stumbled into your space by accident? The Horizon was a probe. We wanted to know what kind of species captures explorers instead of talking to them. Turns out, the kind that needed to be taught a lesson. Brooks moved to the window. Captain, we've got movement. Looks like the Planetary Defense Force is mobilizing. Let them, Carter said. He raised the comm unit again. Commander Hayes, light up the sky. Non-lethal demonstration. Show them what we could do if we wanted to. Copy that, Captain. Firing solution Echo 7. The sky above the capital turned white. The Valiant fired a single particle beam into the upper atmosphere. The weapon didn't hit anything. It didn't have to. The ionization trail carved a line of pure light across the sky, visible for hundreds of miles. The beam traced a circle around the entire capital city in 3 seconds flat. Every guard in the chamber understood the message. The Valiant could have drawn that circle through the city instead of above it. Your planetary shields never even activated, Carter said to the Empress, because we disabled them 4 hours ago. Your military command structure has been compromised. Your orbital defenses are scrap. Your ground forces are scattered, and you have one human warship in orbit that could glass this entire city before your people could scramble a response. Vithira sank back onto her throne, not from weakness. From calculation, she was Empress because she understood power, and right now she had none. What do you want? She asked quietly. I told you, a ship, safe passage, and something else. Carter's eyes were ice. Every human you've ever captured. From any ship, any planet, any circumstance, you're going to find them all and give them back. Some of them have been gone for years, sold to other species, scattered across the sector. Then you're going to get them back. Trade. Negotiate. Threaten. I don't care how you do it, but you're going to do it. That could take months. Years. Carter smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. Then you'd better get started. Because Commander Hayes and the Valiant, they're not leaving your system until every single human is accounted for. The Empress stared at him. You'd risk war with the entire Corvine Empire for our people? Yes. Carter took a step closer to the throne. See, that's what you don't understand about humans. We're not the strongest. We're not the fastest. We don't have the best technology or the biggest empire, but we have each other, and we will burn down civilizations to protect our own. Another guard rushed in. Your Majesty, we're receiving transmissions from across the sector. The humans are broadcasting what happened here. Every species with a receiver is hearing it. Brooks grinned. Galactic PR. Another human specialty. Vithira closed her eyes. When she opened them, she looked tired, ancient, defeated. You'll have your ship, she said, and I will personally oversee the recovery of every human in Corvine space. Smart, Carter said. One more thing. What? An apology to my crew for what you put them through. The Empress of the Corvine dynasty, ruler of 14 star systems, commander of fleets that had conquered dozens of species, looked at the 8 battered humans standing in her throne room, and she apologized. The ship they gave Carter was a cruiser-class vessel called the Dawn's Edge. It was twice the size of the Horizon and armed well enough to make most pirates think twice. The Empress wasn't taking chances. She wanted these humans gone. Carter stood on the bridge, watching the palace shrink in the viewport as they lifted off. His ruined arm was in a regeneration sleeve now, courtesy of Corvine medical technology they'd been forced to provide. It still hurt, but the bones were knitting back together. Brooks sat at the helm, running system checks. Navigation shows clear lanes all the way to the border. They're rolling out the red carpet for us. They're terrified, Felix said from the sensor station, picking up encrypted military chatter across the whole planet. They're talking about us like we're ghosts. Good, Carter said. He tapped his comm unit. Commander Hayes, status? The Valiant's commander responded immediately. Holding position in high orbit, Captain. The Empress has already started making contact with neighboring systems. Looks like she's actually keeping her word. She will, Carter said. She's smart enough to know what happens if she doesn't. Captain, another crew member called out. Lieutenant Marsh, the ship's engineer. He was limping, one leg still bandaged from whatever the Corvine had done to him in their labs. We're receiving a transmission. It's from the surface. The Empress wants to talk to you directly. Carter hesitated, then nodded. Put her through. Vithira's face appeared on the main screen. She looked composed again, every inch the ruler she'd been for 3 centuries. But there was something different in her eyes now. Respect, maybe. Or wariness. Captain Carter, she said formally. Empress. I wanted you to know that I've already located 47 humans in various facilities across my empire. They'll be ready for transport within the week. The others will take longer, but I've allocated significant resources to the search. Appreciated, Carter said flatly. Vithira paused. I also wanted to ask you something. When you stormed my throne room, you were one man against an army. You should have died a dozen times over. Why didn't you? Carter was quiet for a moment. You want to know what makes humans different? Yes, it's not that we're stronger. We're not. It's not that we're smarter. Plenty of species have us beat there, too. Carter looked at his crew, scattered across the bridge. Brooks at the helm, Felix at sensors, Marsh nursing his wounded leg but still at his post. It's that we don't quit. Ever. You can break our bodies. You can take everything from us. But you can't make us stop fighting for each other. That's it? Vithira sounded almost disappointed. Stubbornness? Call it what you want, Carter said. But here's what you need to understand, Empress. This wasn't a rescue mission. This was a warning. You took 12 humans from a scout ship and thought that was the end of it. Instead, you got an entire warship in your space, your defenses shredded, and your empire broadcasting surrender terms across the sector. Brooks spoke up without turning from her station. We're also uploading a complete tactical analysis of your security systems to the galactic net. Every species in the sector will know exactly how vulnerable you really are. Vithira's face went rigid. You wouldn't. Already done, Felix said cheerfully. Hit send about 2 minutes ago. By tomorrow, every 2-bit warlord and pirate fleet will know the Corvine Empire isn't as invincible as it pretends to be. That will destabilize the entire sector, the Empress said, her voice tight with controlled fury. Yes, Carter agreed. It will. Which gives you 2 choices. Spend the next few years fighting off opportunistic attacks from every direction, or spend that time making allies instead of enemies. Starting with humanity. The Empress stared at him through the screen. You're blackmailing me into an alliance. I'm giving you an opportunity, Carter corrected. You wanted to study humans to find out what makes us tick. Now you know. We're pack animals, Empress. We protect our own. But we also remember our friends, and we never forget our enemies. And if I choose to be your friend? Carter glanced at Hayes's image on a secondary screen. The Valiant's commander gave a slight nod. Then that tactical analysis we just broadcast, Carter said, in 72 hours we'll release a follow-up. Showing how we defeated those systems, sure, but also showing how to fix them, how to make them better. Human innovations in defensive technology, freely given. Vathira's expression shifted. She was calculating again, weighing options. Carter could see the moment she understood. "You're offering to make us stronger. We're offering to make our allies stronger," Brooks said. "Big difference. And all we have to do is return your people and agree to leave human space alone." "And establish formal diplomatic relations," Carter added. "Trade agreements. Technology exchange. The whole package. You want to be part of the galactic community? We'll help you get there. But you do it our way. No more capturing explorers. No more forced experiments. No more treating other species like property." The Empress was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was careful. "The Council will resist. Many in my empire believe we are superior to younger species." "Then you'll have to convince them otherwise," Carter said. "We toppled your defenses with 1 ship and 8 people. Imagine what we could do as allies instead of enemies." Another pause. Then Vathira smiled. It was a thin smile, but genuine. "You're a dangerous man, Captain Carter. Only to people who threaten my crew." "Very well. I accept your terms. The Corvine Empire will enter formal negotiations with humanity. But I want something in return beyond the tactical improvements." "What?" "I want to know how you survived, medically speaking. You had 17 separate injuries that should have been fatal, 12 broken bones, internal bleeding, severe trauma. Yet you fought through my guards like you were barely wounded." Carter looked down at his regenerating arm. "Adrenaline, determination, spite. That's not a medical explanation." "No," Carter agreed, "but it's the truth. Humans have this thing where our bodies can ignore damage when we're fighting for something that matters. We call it running on fumes. Scientists back home have studied it for centuries and still don't fully understand it. But when a human decides that something is worth dying for, our bodies will keep going long past the point where we should have collapsed." "Fascinating," Vathira murmured, "and terrifying." "Good," Brooks said. "Stay terrified. It'll keep you honest." The Empress actually laughed. It was a short, sharp sound, but it was real. "I believe we will have a very interesting alliance, Captain Carter." "I believe you're right, Empress." The transmission ended. The screen went dark. Felix whistled low. "Did we just accidentally start a galactic alliance?" "Accidentally nothing," Marsh said from engineering. "The captain planned this from the start." Carter didn't confirm or deny it. He just watched the stars ahead as the Dawn's Edge accelerated toward human space. Brooks glanced back at him. "You did plan this, didn't you? The broadcast, the tactical upload, all of it." Carter smiled slightly. "Humans don't just fight, Lieutenant. We strategize. The Empress needed to learn that we're not just tough, we're smart, and we play the long game. So what's the next move? We go home. We rest, we heal." Carter's smile faded. "And we make sure the galaxy knows that humanity isn't prey anymore." 3 months later, the Dawn's Edge docked at Gateway Station, humanity's primary port in the outer colonies. Carter stood at the airlock, waiting. His arm had healed completely. The scars remained, thin white lines across his skin that he'd chosen not to have removed. Reminders. The station's docking authority had told him to expect a welcoming committee. What he got was half the station's population crowding the observation decks and a full military honor guard waiting on the platform. Admiral Franklin Kane stood at the front, silver-haired and stern-faced. He'd been Carter's commanding officer 15 years ago. Now he ran human naval operations for 3 sectors. "Captain Carter," Kane said as the airlock opened. His voice was formal, but his eyes weren't. "Welcome home." Admiral Carter stepped onto the platform. His crew followed, each of them moving with the careful precision of people who'd been through hell and weren't quite ready to believe it was over. Kane gestured to the crowd. "They've been waiting for days. The whole sector's heard what happened at the Corvine homeworld." "You're heroes. We're survivors," Carter corrected. "The real heroes died on the Horizon. The Horizon's crew will be honored," Kane said quietly. "But right now these people need to see that we can win, that humans don't back down." "You gave them that," Brooks muttered under her breath. No pressure. Kane either didn't hear or pretended not to. He led them down the platform toward a conference room. The crowd cheered as they passed. Carter kept his face neutral, but he could see his crew struggling with it. They'd spent 3 months processing what had happened in those Corvine labs. Cheering crowds didn't fix that. The conference room was mercifully quiet. Kane closed the door, cutting off the noise. "Sit," he said. It wasn't a suggestion. They sat. Kane pulled up a holographic display. It showed the sector map, with Corvine space highlighted in amber. "Since your encounter, we've had 43 species reach out for diplomatic contact. 43. In 3 months. We've spent 50 years in this sector, barely getting noticed, and you changed that in 1 day. By threatening to destroy a capital city," Felix pointed out. "By demonstrating strength," Kane corrected. "The galaxy respects power. You showed them we have it." Carter leaned back in his chair. "What's the situation with the Corvine?" Empress Vithira has been true to her word. "We've recovered 72 humans so far from various locations across her empire. Another 34 are still being tracked down. She's also opened formal negotiations for a mutual defense treaty." "A treaty?" Marsh sounded skeptical. 3 months ago, they were cutting us open to study our biology. 3 months ago, they thought we were weak," Kane said. "You corrected that assumption. Now they want us as allies because they've realized what we could do as enemies." He paused. "There's been pushback, of course. Parts of the Corvine military want to retaliate, but Vithira has kept them in line. She's smart enough to know she can't afford another confrontation with us." Brooks spoke up. "What about the tactical data we released? The vulnerabilities in their systems?" "That was brilliant," Kane said, and he actually smiled. "Half the sector downloaded it. The Corvine looked weak for about 48 hours. Then we released the countermeasures and the defensive improvements, just like you promised. Now they look progressive, forward-thinking. And humanity looks like we're willing to share technology with allies." "Classic human strategy," Felix said. "Make them need us." "Exactly." Kane pulled up another display. This one showed ship movements. "But there's a complication. The VEC consortium has been probing our borders. 3 incursions in the last month. They're testing us." Carter went still. The VEC. Everyone in the room knew the name. The VEC consortium was a coalition of 6 aggressive species that had carved out territory through brutal expansion. They didn't negotiate. They conquered. "They've heard the stories about what you did to the Corvine," Kane said. "They want to see if it was luck or skill." "It was necessity," Carter said quietly. "Then be prepared to demonstrate that necessity again." Kane closed the display. "The VEC don't respect diplomatic overtures. They respect strength. If they push into our space, we'll need to push back harder." "You're sending us out again?" Brooks said. It wasn't a question. "Not immediately. You've earned leave time. Rest. Recovery. Therapy if you need it." Kane looked at each of them in turn. "But yes, eventually, because like it or not, you've become the face of human resistance in this sector. Other species see you and they see what happens when you threaten humanity." Marsh shifted in his seat. "What if we're not ready?" "Then you take the time you need," Kane said simply. "I'm not throwing broken people at the enemy, but when you are ready, I need you back out there. All of you." Carter looked at his crew. Brooks was staring at the table, jaw tight. Felix was fidgeting with the datapad, nervous energy radiating off him. Marsh still favored his wounded leg. They'd all been changed by what happened on the Corvine homeworld. But they were still standing, still fighting. "Give us 2 weeks," Carter said. Kane raised an eyebrow. "You sure? I can authorize a month easily." 2 weeks, Carter repeated. "Then we'll take whatever assignment you have. But on one condition." "Name it." "We get to pick our own crew. The Dawn's Edge is bigger than the horizon. We'll need more people, and I want to choose them personally." Kane nodded slowly. "Agreed. Anyone specific in mind?" "Hayes," Brooks said immediately. "Commander Hayes from the Valiant. If we're going up against the VEC, I want someone running tactical who thinks 3 steps ahead." "And Lieutenant Commander Price from the orbital assault teams," Marsh added. "Best combat engineer in the fleet. If things go bad, I want someone who can jury-rig a solution from spare parts and determination." Carter smiled slightly. "Putting together a crew of troublemakers, are we?" "The best kind," Felix said. Kane stood. "I'll make it happen." 2 weeks. Rest. Recover. Then we'll brief you on the VEC situation and you can choose your deployment." He paused at the door. "One more thing. The civilians out there want to thank you. Press conferences, interviews, medal ceremonies. I can run interference if you want, but it would help morale if people could see you. Carter thought about it. About the people who died on the horizon. About the humans still being recovered from Corvine facilities. About the message they needed to send. One press conference, he said. No interviews. No ceremonies. Just one chance to tell people what actually happened. Fair enough. Kane opened the door. The sound of the crowd rushed back in. "Welcome home, Captain." "You earned it." After he left, the crew sat in silence for a moment. 2 weeks isn't much time, Marsh said finally. "It's enough," Carter replied. "We've survived worse on less." Brooks laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Did we, though? Survive?" Carter looked at her. Really looked. Saw the exhaustion in her eyes, the tension in her shoulders. Saw the same thing reflected in Felix and Marsh. "We're alive," he said quietly. "That's the first step. Surviving comes next. And we'll do it together." "Together," Brooks echoed. Felix nodded. Marsh, too. Outside, the crowd was still cheering. Inside, 4 humans who'd stormed an alien empire and come back with their people sat in silence and started the long process of healing. 14 days passed like a held breath. Carter spent the first week in medical evaluations and the second assembling his new crew. Commander Hayes transferred from the Valiant without hesitation. Lieutenant Commander Price came from the orbital teams with a grin and a duffel bag of unorthodox engineering tools. They added 6 more specialists, each one hand-picked for skill and temperament. On the morning of Day 15, the Dawn's Edge undocked from Gateway Station and set course for the border zones where the VEC had been probing. The bridge felt different now. Larger crew, better equipment, but the same tension that came with heading toward danger. "Approaching coordinates," Brooks called from the helm. "VEC patrol routes should intersect this sector within the hour." Hayes stood at tactical, eyes scanning multiple displays. "Sensors show heavy activity. They're not being subtle about their incursions." "They never are," Carter said. He pulled up the comm. "All hands, battle stations. This is not a drill." The ship hummed as systems powered up, weapons charged. Shields energized. Then the sensors screamed. "Contact," Hayes snapped. 3 VEC destroyers dropping out of faster than light. "They're positioning to box us in." Carter smiled coldly. "They think we're prey. Let's educate them." The VEC ships opened fire without warning. Plasma bolts tore through space where the Dawn's Edge had been a moment before. Brooks had already moved, her hands dancing across the helm with practiced precision. "Return fire," Carter ordered. "Targeting solutions Alpha through Gamma. Show them what human engineering looks like." The Dawn's Edge had been upgraded with technology reverse-engineered from a dozen species, refined through human innovation. The weapons weren't the most powerful in the galaxy, but they were accurate, efficient, deadly. 3 missiles launched simultaneously, each one tracking a different destroyer. The VEC tried to evade, but Price had programmed the guidance systems personally. The missiles adapted, adjusted, and struck home. One destroyer's shields collapsed, another took damage to its engines, the third managed to dodge, but barely. "They're regrouping," Hayes reported. "And they're calling for reinforcements." "Good," Carter said. "Let them come." Brooks glanced back. "Captain, the Corvine learned their lesson when we showed them what one determined crew could do. The VEC need the same education. And this time we're not fighting alone." He activated the long-range comm. "This is Captain Carter of the human vessel Dawn's Edge to all ships in range. The VEC Consortium has initiated hostilities in human-protected space. Any Allied vessels willing to assist, we would welcome your support." For 10 seconds there was silence. Then the comm lit up. "Captain Carter, this is Empress Vithira aboard the Corvine flagship Eternal Dawn. We received your message. 3 battle cruisers are en route to your position. Estimated arrival, 4 minutes." Another voice. "Different species. Human vessel? This is Commander Thex of the Miroland Defense Fleet. We remember your people helped broker our trade agreements last month. 2 frigates inbound. We will stand with you." More voices. More species. Some Carter recognized from diplomatic channels. Others were complete unknowns. Species that had simply heard the stories and decided that humans were worth supporting. The VEC reinforcements arrived. 6 more destroyers, a light carrier, enough firepower to reduce the Dawn's Edge to debris. But they weren't facing one ship anymore. The Corvine battle cruisers dropped out of faster than light like hammers from heaven, weapons already firing. The Miralon frigates came in fast and low, targeting the Vec carrier's launch bays. A species called the Rathani sent heavy fighters that moved like schools of metal fish, impossible to track individually. And at the center of it all, the Dawn's Edge held the line. All weapons concentrated fire on the carrier, Carter commanded. Hayes, coordinate with our allies. Make sure we're not shooting each other. Already on it, Hayes replied, her fingers flying across tactical displays. Corvine ships are taking the destroyers. Miralon and Rathani are running interference. We have a clear shot at the carrier. Then let's take it. The Dawn's Edge unleashed everything it had. Missiles, energy weapons, kinetic projectiles. Price had loaded experimental ammunition that the Vec had never seen before. Human innovations that turned their shields from an advantage into a liability. The carrier's defenses crumbled, its launch bays went dark, and when it tried to retreat, the Corvine cruisers were waiting. The battle lasted 11 minutes. When it was over, the Vec fleet was scattered. 2 destroyers destroyed outright, the carrier crippled and drifting. The rest had fled back across the border. Carter stood on the bridge, watching the aftermath on the main display. Allied ships were already coordinating cleanup operations, rescuing survivors, securing disabled vessels. Incoming transmission, Hayes said. It's Empress Vathira. The Empress appeared on screen and she was smiling. A real smile this time, not the political mask she usually wore. Captain Carter. It seems we make effective allies after all. Seems that way, Carter agreed. Thank you for the assist. Thank you for the opportunity to prove ourselves. The galaxy is watching. They saw the Corvine Empire stand with humanity against aggression. That sends a message. That's the idea. Vathira's expression grew serious. The Vec will retaliate. This was an embarrassment for them. They don't handle embarrassment well. Let them come, Carter said. Next time they'll face more than one ship. They'll face an alliance. After the transmission ended, Brooks spoke quietly. Did we just accidentally start building a coalition? Nothing accidental about it, Hayes said. The captain's been planning this since the Corvine homeworld. Show strength, demonstrate reliability. Give other species a reason to stand with us instead of against us. Carter didn't deny it. He looked at his crew, new and old, working together like they'd been doing this for years. Humanity spent decades in this sector being ignored, he said, treated like we didn't matter, like we were too small, too weak, too new to the galactic stage. But we're not weak. We're adaptable, we learn. We build alliances, and we never abandon our own. Marsh limped over from engineering, still favoring his leg, but grinning. So what's next, Captain? More border patrols? More diplomatic missions? Both, Carter said, and everything in between. The galaxy's a big place. Lots of species still think humans are easy targets. We're going to correct that assumption. One encounter at a time if we have to. Felix pulled up the long-range sensors, already getting reports from across the sector, word spreading about what happened here. Humans and their allies fought off a Vec incursion without taking losses. People are talking. Good, Carter said. Let them talk. Let every species out there know that humanity doesn't fight alone anymore. We build coalitions. We protect our allies, and we will cross galaxies to bring our people home. The Dawn's Edge turned toward human space, escorted by Corvine cruisers and Miralon frigates and Rathani fighters, a fleet that hadn't existed 3 months ago, an alliance born from one captain's refusal to abandon his crew. Brooks set course for Gateway Station. We'll be home in 6 hours. Take your time, Carter said. He looked out at the stars, at the Allied ships flying in formation with them, at the future they were building one decision at a time. We've got all the time in the world, and somewhere across the sector, species that had once dismissed humanity as irrelevant were learning a new truth. Humans didn't conquer through force. They didn't dominate through fear. They built alliances through loyalty, defended their own with absolute commitment, and turned enemies into allies through strength tempered with honor. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was leading the way.